everyone's attention. We're very pleased to have FCC Commissioner Simington here. He will give us a keynote. I appreciate both his leadership at the FCC, his focus on things that are important, sometimes those issues that may not get the attention they need and can be overlooked. And he's a great mind with a great voice at the FCC. Commissioner Simington, thank you for joining us today.
But it's always a delight to be here today, to be here at INCOMPAS, rather. And it's a privilege to address you folks today, specifically on a topic that is both electrifying and intricate: the impending AI revolution and its profound implications for our energy grid. While I might be tempted to sprinkle in a few puns about current events and power dynamics, I'm going to largely resist that urge, but instead it makes sense, I think, to embark on a comprehensive exploration of this multifaceted issue, ensuring we illuminate every corner with precision and depth. So let's start with the DeepSeek dilemma. Can we believe the hype? The proverbial elephant, or perhaps algorithm in the room, DeepSeek's recent proclamation regarding the remarkably low cost of training their AI models. According to their assertions, DeepSeek managed to train their latest model, DeepSeek V3, at a cost of approximately $5.6 million, utilizing about 2,048 NVIDIA H800 GPUs over a span of 55 days. This figure stands in stark contrast to the substantial sums reportedly expended by other AI frontrunners. However, before we commence any celebrations over these purported cost savings, it's imperative to scrutinize these numbers critically. Are they as credible as they appear? What does cost truly mean in this context? Does the $5.6 million include the cost of acquiring the GPUs, or does it only reflect rental expenses? If DeepSeek owns these GPUs, is their depreciation factored into the training cost? What about the cost of maintaining the infrastructure, cooling, networking, storage, engineering oversight? Are those included, or are we looking at a severely underreported figure? Training a state-of-the-art AI model is not a simple one-step process. It involves extensive pre-training, fine-tuning, iterative experimentation, and of course, significant energy consumption. How many intermediate training runs did DeepSeek conduct before achieving its final model? How much power did these runs consume? If DeepSeek ran multiple tests over several months before finalizing its model, the real cost could be many times higher than the advertised figure. We've seen similar cost obfuscation in other industries. Can we be sure that AI companies are immune to this temptation? Furthermore, where was DeepSeek training these models? Was it using heavily subsidized electricity? Was it leveraging government incentives that artificially lowered its costs? In China, where energy prices can be manipulated by state intervention, are we comparing apples to apples when we stack DeepSeek's cost claims against AI training done in the US or Europe? How do we account for the financial opacity of companies operating in different regulatory environments? Another fundamental question: what about data costs? Large AI models require vast amounts of training data, and acquiring, cleaning, and structuring that data is an expensive and labor-intensive process. Is DeepSeek disclosing the full cost of its dataset acquisitions? Are there hidden costs in licensing, data engineering, or manual curation that are not being accounted for? Finally, we can't forget about personnel. The development of AI models requires highly skilled researchers, engineers, and data scientists. How many full-time employees worked on DeepSeek V3? And how were their salaries accounted for in the training budget? AI companies often employ large teams of PhDs in machine learning, computer science, and mathematics with salaries in 6 or even 7 figures. If these costs are excluded from the reported $5.6 million, what does that say about the transparency of DeepSeek's cost claims? Until we have greater clarity on these fundamental questions, we should treat claims of low cost and implicitly low power AI training with a high degree of skepticism. The true cost of AI training remains an elusive figure, and without full transparency, we may be significantly underestimating the energy and financial investments required to push the boundaries of global AI development. So now let's look at US AI training costs for a reality check. Shifting our focus stateside, the costs associated with training large language models have been anything but modest. OpenAI's GPT-3, for instance, reportedly consumed approximately 1,287 megawatt hours of electricity during training, which is about 100 times the energy used by the average US household in a year. But GPT-3 was just the beginning. The more advanced GPT-4 required multiple runs on state-of-the-art clusters of NVIDIA A100s, significantly increasing power consumption. While OpenAI has not publicly disclosed exact figures, estimates place the training usage well above 10 gigawatt hours for a full training cycle, with costs ballooning north of $100 million. The sheer scale of energy consumption for AI training is driven by the fundamental computational intensity of training deep learning models. Training an LLM involves running billions, sometimes trillions, of matrix multiplications at every training step. Each neuron in a deep learning model must adjust its weights iteratively, back-propagating errors through layers upon layers of artificial neurons. This means that every forward and backward pass through a network involves executing floating point operations across thousands of GPUs, each drawing kilowatts of power continuously over weeks or months. At the hardware levels, GPUs and TPUs, or tensor processing units, operate under extreme workloads, often running at near peak utilization 24/7. So imagine your car engine redlining. A single NVIDIA A100 GPU, for example, has a thermal design power of 400 watts. When scaled across a data center employing 10,000 such GPUs, this alone requires a dedicated power infrastructure to handle a continuous 4 megawatts of sustained power draw before accounting for cooling or ancillary loads. For larger training runs involving tens of thousands of GPUs, total energy consumption can easily surpass 50 megawatts during peak training sessions. A major bottleneck in AI training is the movement of data. Large-scale AI models require high-speed interconnects between GPUs to synchronize gradients efficiently. Technologies like NVIDIA's NVLink and AMD's Infinity Fabric help mitigate some of the energy loss associated with data transfers. But the reality is that shuffling massive amounts of data between GPUs, storage devices, and CPUs contributes significantly to energy draw. Memory access alone can consume up to 25% of a data center's total power budget, as high bandwidth memory and DRAM must sustain continuous read-write cycles to accommodate training batches. Beyond computation and memory, AI training also imposes immense energy burdens on cooling infrastructure. Data centers running AI training workloads generate an enormous amount of heat, requiring sophisticated liquid cooling solutions. In many hyperscale AI training facilities, liquid-cooled racks keep GPU clusters from overheating, but even with direct-to-chip cooling, thermal management can account for 30% or more of a facility's total energy use. To put this into perspective, some AI firms are now experimenting with submerged cooling and dielectric fluids to reduce power overhead, but these solutions remain costly and complex to implement at scale. Why are these numbers so high in the first place? Training an LLM at scale requires trillions of floating point operations per second. For example, GPT-3 had 175 billion parameters, meaning it performed quadrillions of mathematical operations during training. New models, including GPT-4 and upcoming iterations, push beyond 1 trillion parameters, exponentially increasing computational load. As AI models grow, the need for larger training data sets also skyrockets. A single training run involving scanning petabytes of data, requiring vast amounts of high bandwidth storage, memory, and network capabilities, these all consume significant energy. Another major contributor to cost is the cooling and infrastructure required to sustain high-performance GPUs. Data centers hosting AI training workloads often rely on liquid cooling systems, which further increase energy demands. Google, for example, has invested heavily in specialized AI-focused data centers using TPU v4 hardware, which are designed to optimize efficiency, yet still consume vast amounts of power. One Google facility dedicated to AI training uses approximately 250 megawatts, enough to power a small city. Comparing these costs globally, we also see stark differences. AI training in the US is significantly more expensive than in regions where electricity is cheaper. In places like Iceland, where geothermal energy provides low-cost, sustainable power, some companies are experimenting with relocating training operations to reduce costs, hopefully not actually into a volcano. Meanwhile, in China, state-backed AI firms may be benefiting from subsidized electricity, leading to cost disparities that make American AI firms less competitive on raw infrastructure expenditure alone. The supply chain crisis of GPUs and semiconductor fabrication adds still another layer of complexity. With NVIDIA's latest H100 and A100 chips being the go-to for AI training, their availability can dramatically affect training costs. When supply chains are strained, as they were in 2021 and 2022, the cost of securing GPUs can rise by 30 to 50%, adding millions of dollars to AI training budgets. Additionally, AI firms in the US must navigate trade restrictions that prevent them from sourcing the most cutting-edge chips from China, further complicating cost structures. Given these factors, it is evident that AI training costs in the US are not only high, but also growing at an accelerating rate. Without substantial breakthroughs in hardware efficiency or alternative training paradigms, we may soon reach a bottleneck where only the largest tech firms can afford to develop next-generation AI models. As we look ahead, the question remains, will AI advancements outpace our ability to provide a sustainable and affordable training infrastructure, or will emerging technologies perhaps help mitigate these immense costs? Let's project to the future and look at the cost of AI over time. As we look ahead to the next decade, the costs associated with AI training and deployment are expected to rise sharply. Current estimates suggest that by 2030, global AI-related electricity consumption could account for anywhere between 3.5% and 8% of the world's total energy demand, up from roughly 1 to 2% today. These projections vary widely due to differences in model efficiency improvements, hardware optimizations, and the unpredictable growth rate of AI adoption. However, even conservative estimates paint a picture of an increasingly energy-intensive AI sector that could stress electrical grids worldwide. The United States, as one of the global leaders in AI innovation, is projected to see its own share of AI-related power consumption surge. According to a recent study by the International Energy Agency, data centers, including those dedicated to AI workloads, could consume up to 9% of total U.S. electricity production by 2030. The demand for AI compute power is growing at a rate of approximately 30% per year, and at current trajectories, AI inference workloads alone will outpace training workloads in electricity consumption by mid-decade. To put this in perspective, a single hyperscale AI data center running future trillion-parameter models could require gigawatts of power, equivalent to the output of a small nuclear plant. Large-scale AI clusters are already demanding more electricity than many major industrial sectors. Google's DeepMind, OpenAI, and Meta's AI divisions are all planning multi-billion-dollar expansions of their AI training infrastructure, with new facilities in the US consuming upwards of 500 megawatts apiece. Microsoft, which has committed over $10 billion to AI development, is now investing in energy projects directly, partnering with energy providers to secure dedicated capacity for future AI growth. Beyond simple electricity costs, the impact of AI-related energy demand on grid stability is a growing concern. Many of today's power grids are not built to handle highly volatile loads from AI data centers. Unlike traditional industrial power consumers, AI workloads tend to fluctuate unpredictably based on training schedules and inference demand spikes. This creates balancing challenges for grid operators, particularly in regions where renewable energy sources such as wind and solar dominate the mix. AI data centers operating at gigawatt scales may require advanced load balancing, demand response technologies, and energy storage solutions to prevent instability. The European Union has already begun mandating that hyperscale data centers implement energy efficiency measures to curb runaway consumption. The US may follow suit, with federal and state regulators considering incentives for AI firms to relocate to regions with excess grid capacity or dedicated generation. Proposals have surfaced suggesting that AI data centers should be co-located with renewable energy sites to optimize efficiency. But this presents logistical challenges in terms of grid connectivity, transmission infrastructure, capital investment, and synchronizing demand with supply. Meanwhile, developing nations are poised to see a dramatic shift in AI energy dynamics. Countries such as China, India, and Brazil are rapidly expanding their AI capabilities, with China alone projected to command nearly 25% of global AI-related electricity demand by 2030. China's state-subsidized AI industry benefits from direct government intervention in energy policy, allowing it to secure low-cost power that US and European AI firms cannot easily access. This raises concerns about competitive imbalances as Western firms struggle with market-based electricity pricing, while Chinese firms leverage state-backed resources. The future trajectory of AI energy consumption also depends on advances in model efficiency. Several industry leaders are investing in initiatives aimed at reducing computational waste and improving hardware power efficiency. New generations of AI hardware, such as NVIDIA's H100 and AMD's MI300 chips, promise performance per watt improvements of 3 to 5x over previous generations. However, these efficiency gains may not be enough to offset the overall growth in demand, meaning that energy consumption per model could continue rising, even as hardware efficiency improves. Grid adaptation strategies are becoming critical to mitigating the looming energy crisis. One promising approach is dynamic power allocation, where AI data centers are incentivized to operate during periods of low overall grid demand. This would allow AI training jobs to be scheduled dynamically to minimize grid strain, much like how Bitcoin miners in Texas shift operations based on energy market pricing. Some regions are exploring dedicated AI energy zones, where infrastructure is tailored to support the enormous loads associated with AI compute, including microgrid solutions that integrate renewable energy sources alongside AI training hubs. Another potential solution is greater integration of nuclear power into AI energy planning. Small modular reactors, which offer flexible and scalable nuclear generation, could be co-located with AI data centers to provide dedicated baseload power. Unlike traditional large-scale nuclear reactors, SMRs are designed to be more compact and deployable, allowing them to be constructed in a fraction of the time and at a lower cost. Companies such as TerraPower and NuScale are actively developing SMRs capable of producing 300 megawatts or more, which could directly power AI workloads without relying on fragile grid systems. Their modular nature makes them adaptable for use in remote locations or alongside major AI hubs, offering an attractive alternative to fossil fuel-dependent data centers. One of the key advantages of SMRs, of course, is their ability to provide consistent carbon-free electricity, mitigating the environmental impact of AI-driven power consumption. Unlike renewables, such as wind and solar, which are intermittent by nature, SMRs deliver continuous power generation without requiring extensive battery storage solutions. This reliability makes them particularly well-suited for AI applications where training workloads require uninterrupted computational uptime. Some SMR designs also incorporate passive cooling systems that reduce the risk of overheating, enhancing safety while ensuring stable energy output for mission-critical AI operations. Moreover, SMRs could play a crucial role in stabilizing regional energy grids that are struggling to accommodate AI's surging electricity demands. By deploying SMRs near AI clusters, companies could reduce transmission losses and alleviate stress on existing infrastructure. Furthermore, advanced SMR designs, such as those using molten salt or high-temperature gas reactors, promise even greater efficiency and lower operational costs compared to traditional nuclear power. If major AI firms invest in SMR-backed energy solutions, we could witness a transformative shift in how AI training and inference workloads are powered, ushering in a new era of energy security and sustainability for the AI-driven world. At the same time, there's a push to make AI training itself more energy aware. Researchers are developing adaptive training techniques that reduce redundant computations, improve batch processing efficiency, and minimize unnecessary retraining cycles. AI chip manufacturers are also exploring architectures that specialize in low-power AI processing, leveraging neuromorphic computing and in-memory computing to dramatically cut energy usage. While these advancements may help curb some of the energy demand, the long-term challenge remains. Will AI innovation outpace our ability to sustainably power it? That remains to be seen. Let's look at shrinking models. Are they a solution or a band-aid? AI models have traditionally been developed under the assumption that more parameters lead to better performance. However, this approach has significant consequences in terms of computational cost and energy consumption. Shrinking models refers to a set of techniques designed to maintain performance while reducing the total number of parameters, making models more efficient and less resource intensive. This can be accomplished through methods like model pruning, quantization, and knowledge distillation, three widely used strategies to optimize AI efficiency. Model pruning involves systematically removing redundant or low-impact parameters from a neural network. Many neural networks contain excessive weights that contribute little to the final output, and yet they still consume computational power during inference. Quantization reduces numerical precision in model calculations, allowing AI to perform computations with lower bit representations, famously in DeepSeek, allowing significantly lowering power usage. Meanwhile, knowledge distillation trains smaller student models to mimic larger teacher models, effectively transferring knowledge in a way that maintains accuracy while reducing complexity. Together, these approaches have allowed AI researchers to shrink model sizes by as much as 90% while preserving high performance, leading to significant energy savings. Architectural optimizations also play a key role in shrinking models. Transformer-based architectures, which power modern LLMs like GPT-4 and PaLM, can be restructured to improve efficiency. Sparse attention mechanisms, for example, allow models to selectively focus on the most relevant parts of an input sequence rather than processing all data equally. So I guess no net neutrality there. This significantly cuts down on unnecessary computations. Hybrid models that blend convolutional networks with transformers are also being explored to reduce energy costs in multimodal AI applications. Finally, it's important for us to talk about cyberstructure and an AI-powered grid as a new frontier of risk. As AI-driven infrastructure expands, so too does the attack surface for potential cyber threats. The integration of AI into energy grid operations introduces new vulnerabilities, particularly as smart grid technologies, distributed energy resources, and AI-driven demand response systems become more prevalent. Cybersecurity experts warn that adversarial states and non-state actors alike may exploit these vulnerabilities to disrupt energy supply, cause widespread outages, or even manipulate AI-powered decision-making systems. One of the most pressing concerns is the co-location of AI data centers with critical energy infrastructure. Many large-scale AI facilities are now being placed near power generation sites to allow direct low-latency access to energy. While this improves efficiency, it also creates centralized points of failure that, if compromised, could lead to cascading grid failures. AI-driven grid management systems must be designed with robust fail-safes to prevent malicious actors from hijacking energy distribution controls. Finally, China's role in global cybersecurity risks cannot be ignored. Reports indicate that Chinese manufactured networking equipment has been deployed across key segments of U.S. energy infrastructure, including substations and smart meters. The recent revelations surrounding the Salt Typhoon cyber espionage campaign highlight how state-sponsored actors have infiltrated critical networks using vulnerabilities in software and hardware supply chains. Given China's aggressive stance on AI and cyber warfare, policymakers must critically assess the risk of foreign adversaries embedding backdoors in AI-driven control systems. In conclusion, the future is here. Are we ready? At this moment in history, AI is not just transforming industries, it is reshaping the very infrastructure that powers modern civilization. From training costs that rival entire energy sectors to the cybersecurity risks inherent in a fully connected grid, the AI revolution demands an energy revolution of equal magnitude. The choices we make today will determine whether AI becomes a sustainable force for progress or an unsustainable drain on resources and security. We must think critically, plan aggressively, and innovate relentlessly to ensure that our power grids, our policies, and our cybersecurity frameworks evolve in tandem with AI's exponential growth. And if this speech has made one thing clear, it is that the AI-powered future is already here. Because to be honest, just about this entire speech was written by AI. So if that doesn't drive the point home, nothing will, because apparently one of the jobs that it can replace is that of FCC commissioner. Thanks very much.